Okay.
Yes. So first of all, I like to get about the problem about the authorized issue we have in dealer API and other API as well. So we have two tickets from Oli. They are connected together. This is specific for dealer API. As he point out the issue that we in our API we use an attribute for admin IP validation, which is an attribute allow us to check if the request come from a machine that is an admin machine. So it's a way, but it's not a standard way to authorize to protect our API. And yeah, so we currently have GWT that we can protect our API, and we integrate that. We use identity to do that. So I will show you the database here. This is identity server. Currently, we have two ways to validate if a client can access to an API or not. The first is password. It's for the front-end client, the user to provide the username and password, and then we grab the username and password and also the client ID and secret, send it to identity server, and we get back the GWT token. And the second one is client credential. And currently, some apps use client credential. You can see here the client 15. Yes, so the 15 is the admin client, right? The admin site that we want to manage everything there. So the admin, we set up the admin with many scope here: API scope, web app partner, DMS. So you this is the new one that I want to introduce in for this solution. But I would say that I checked already in admin client. They use GWT for getting the right access to cache refresh only. So those scopes are overkill for admin client. Yeah. So get back to our problem. When we use password validation, we allow the user to, the client to have this JWT, and we check that it will provide the scope here, right? This is the scope, and in our API, we check if the income JWT has this scope or not by this middleware. Right, we use this extension to register a middleware to check the JWT, and we require this scope that if the JWT has this scope, we allow the incoming request to go through. If not, we don't. The problem is we have many kind of endpoint in our API, and I would say that we have two kind at the moment. The admin for refreshing cache, which is not related much to the user, the end user. They don't need to. They don't have to have the right to access to this endpoint, and Oli has pointed out that this is the prone to a DDoS attack, and it's not good for us. So I will conclude. We have two issues here. The first one is the one that I just said. The user that they don't need to have this right to access this, but they can be able to access, and we introduce a security issue for the DDoS. And the second one is we allow too much thing for a client to do. So with this scope, we have the client can do everything, can call every endpoint in every API. You see here? So to tackle the problem, the first problem, I suggest that we divide our API into two categories: the service endpoint and the admin endpoint, or the refresh cache for specific. And we don't we don't check in this middleware. We don't check with this middleware because we want to introduce a new scope for our service cache refresh. So every JWT have this scope, they will able to access that admin API, and every JWT has the this scope. They will be able to access to other service endpoint, right? So in order to validate the scope, not in middleware, we validate the scope by API web API filter. So we let the request go through this middleware until it get into the web API middleware. There's a filter. So we authorize we extract the scope, and we validate the scope there. So as you can see here, we register two global authorized attribute. The first one is we check, okay, if every request with the JWT has the scope of web API, and also is from a dealer type user. We allow the request to get through. And with this global authorized scope, we register for all the controller, right? So you might ask me that why how can we use this cache refresh to authorize? So in order to override the global one, we have the attribute for override authorization. It will deny all the authorization at higher level. So you can see the description of the attribute here, and we will introduce a new attribute for authorized scope. So we ask for the catch refresh scope only, and not this scope. Okay, so with this, we deny, we refuse the validation here, and we apply on only this authorize, and only allow this scope to access. So from here, I will as I create the scope and attach it to the admin client here, and I will soon remove the other scope here. It's optional, but it's good to remove it, because in a catch refresh request, previously we asked for the scope like this. Yeah, we asked for more than we want. So now we ask for only catch refresh. And I will do the demonstration. No, not this one. First, I will debug the admin to see that we okay, because I update the file, I need to review or not. Okay, so no error here, and we check the token. This is the client credential, right? This is client credential. We authorize our API machine to machine. In this case, the client, the admin client to our API, and this is the token. Okay, now the token only has the catch refresh. And I will debug the DLL API. Okay, something wrong. Mm, okay, I will check the flow here. Okay, we check if the DLL API is on. I think I need to review.
Maybe you can just finish explanation, and we believe that it will work. Like, it's easier just to explain concept than fixing right now.
Okay,
Issue.
so yeah, do you have any idea question? Maybe this is not the best solution. Maybe you have another idea.
I have question why we remove the request scarf in the start of, because we can combine, we can add the web app scarf for the all users, and then for the admin users we just need to add one more scarf that refresh cache. Then you don't need to remove the request scarf on the top, and don't need to add more validation, because you imagine that every users can have the scarf, can have the default scarf web app, even the admin, right? And if a user is admin, they should have one more scarf like the refresh cache, and you just need to check that scarf on the admin controller. You get what I mean? Like the normal user should have only one scarf, like the web app dot auto scout dot gs, right? And the admin user should have two scarf, like the web app plus refresh cache. So
Yes,
we don't
the,
need to fix
the yeah.
anything. Just need to check one more check on the admin controller.
Yeah, the reason I don't want to set the record scope here is because if we set the record scope here, it will apply for all the endpoint. In .NET Core, we can apply the middleware by endpoint, by a
Yes, and
group
we
of
can
endpoint.
apply it for every endpoint.
Yeah, that's the So I
But
don't know
on the
how to
admin, we will apply one more check on the admin controller to check the user whether they have the refresh cache scarf or not. You get what I mean?
But here, if the user if we use the token here, if the admin control, if the admin client send the GWT here,
So
here only the cache
the
refresher. Yeah,
so
we
the
want.
solution is like we can add one more scarf for the admin. Like the default scarf would be the web app, and the second one
Yeah,
is a cache refresh.
yeah. So I prefer to have only cache refresh because that's the only thing that admin client want. Actually, refresh the cache and that's it.
But
Why do we scroll
the
more?
user who can log in on the admin base, they should have permission on the web app, right? The account. It's just general idea. It's by default they have
No,
all
when
permission.
the user log in onto a client, an app, in this case admin, they can only use that app. And
so I imagine that we have a single sign-on. So a user when they log in into a system, so we just need to generate one token for them so they can access everything. And the scarf, the access token there should contain every scarf they have. So if we generate only one scarf here, how can we know the login user is admin or not? You get what I mean?
yeah.
When we build the sign login in the SSO, we should generate only one token so that they can bring their token to go to every services, and they can check, the service can check whether they have permission or not based on the scarf. So the scarf should contain the everything based on the permission. So just that's what I suggest that. So now we generate one token for the cap refresher, and we generate another token for the web login or something like this, and we will generate another token for another services. And I think it's a not really good solution.
Yeah, maybe you're right because every people who access to admin client have the right to
Yeah, that's
access
what
all the service and all the scope. Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah. Yes. So
yeah, but
yeah,
you can talk to Olive again. Like it's just my question and my suggestion, my idea about that. Yeah.
yeah. I
Can
already
think about
talked about only about that, but we didn't have time to analyze the solution in deeper. And he agreed generally he agreed, but he didn't have time to review it again. Maybe you're right. Yeah. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, I will think about it and work on it more. So any more question?
If not, thanks, Roger. And yeah, I think Kian has a good point there. We're just adding the scope, the cache refresh scope to the existing token, and maybe yeah, maybe double check with Ollie again about the solution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening.